Hey guys, welcome to the Cancer full moon anomaly reading for 2025. Usually I am live at 11:11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on my YouTube channel on the full moon doing a live anomaly reading, but the last couple ones I have felt like the readings wanted to come through after the full moon. So I'm actually recording this the day after the full moon for me, the Cancer full moon in January 2025. And I have a lot to say, so I'm just going to jump right in. So first of all, I just want to quickly say that I am not an astrologer. This is not that type of reading. And I also don't read for the collective. This is specifically for the individual. I call these anomaly readings because they are connected to the anomaly timeline where we choose humanity and where humanity wins. And so I've been doing 2025. I've just felt like a lot of messages wanted to come through because I feel like 2025 is going to be the year that scares the shit out of us. I've said this in the last few readings I've done. And I feel like the energy of scaring the shit out of us is it's actually activating us into our highest potential for this time. And our potential is in our humanity. Humanity wins, as I've said so many times. And the currency to invest in for 2025 is humanity. I feel like 2025 is going to show us who we really are individually, because we will have to realize that we have a choice to how we respond to what's happening, and that's the only thing actually within our control. We've been learning this, just being human teaches us this, but since 2020 and the original trigger started going off for this whole anomaly timeline, we have had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to wake up from the illusion that the power is outside of us. And so 2025 is going to ask us to step into the beliefs that support our future. And the primary belief that supports our future is the belief that there's enough and that we are enough. And when I say invest in humanity and that humanity is the currency that is most needed, especially for 2025, we need to be in our humanity. We need to be in our heart. It's important in order to be able to, I honestly want to use the word survive, the timeline of lack in 2025. And I say this because it's more orchestrated than ever before. And I've been talking a lot about how social media is the tool right now. It's the primary tool for all of it. It's the primary vehicle for all of it. And social media is and has and will continue to be used for psychological warfare. And in fact, it is ultimately psychological violence. And the people that are most vulnerable to being subject to the way it's used in that way, because social media is going to be used and is used for a multitude of different things, including very good things. But the aspect of it that is being utilized, the aspect specifically of media and narrative and the war games, is and will continue to be used for war, to divide us more, to cause more fear, and to cause disruption in our collective connection. Because you can't really, there's a reason why the saying is divide and conquer. So division is important, and dividing us from each other is important in order to divest in humanity instead of invest in humanity. So there's three things that came through for this moon. And first of all, I just want to say I started getting the message for this moon the day before the full moon. I was on a walk and the moon was pretty much full. And absolutely captivating. And I didn't know specifically what sign it was in. And I try not to pay attention too much, although often I see stuff on social media, but I try not to read anything because I like to really experience the energy, how it authentically feels to me without being influenced by what sign I think it's in or what people say about it. But nonetheless, I as soon as I looked at the moon and felt the moon, I was like, this is watery. Like, this feels like a Cancer full moon. I bet it's a Cancer full moon. And it was interesting that, and I probably had seen it somewhere too, but the energy felt it so strongly. And I don't always feel strong connections to what the moon's doing. And so a lot of times my rhythms feel outside, or it's like I experience things earlier. And so it's like by the time everyone else goes through it, I feel like I've already been through it. But this full moon, I was just struck by in so many ways. The watery energy, the clear Cancer energy that came through, to me, the moon itself, when I looked at it, it was so bright, and it looked like a pearl in the sky, or an egg in the sky. Very feminine. I felt this powerful feminine energy. And I was walking by a lake that I live by, and the clouds above the lake looked like this huge mother goose, like flying over the lake. I felt just very strong feminine energy, but also familial. And it's interesting that I saw like a goose in the sky, and the geese in general. That energy that came through is because they're very communal and family oriented, like community oriented. And we are going to see that we need each other. We need each other. And I've been struck by stories from like North Carolina, the floods in North Carolina and the fires in LA. The stories that have struck me most are the people that talk about when your house burns down, suddenly you don't care what political affiliation the person who's running over to help you is. You don't care anymore. It's just our humanity. This is why in the end, humanity wins, and everybody's connected to humanity. It's not just that some people have access to their humanity and other people don't. Everyone in a human body has access to their humanity. And this is the thing to invest in for 2025, is our humanity. And it outshines everything else. It overcomes everything else. And it expands beyond the idea of, are you this or that? And these artificial things that divide us from each other. When at the end of the day, when we are in our instincts, we are communal. And that is the currency that is being asked for to be invested in on this planet. It is connected to self-sustainability. And it's also connected to the earth. And people often forget that the earth and humans, like, we are a match. We were made for the earth, and the earth was made for us. And I know a lot of people don't believe that. But if you're on Team Humanity, Team Humanity ultimately is Team Life and life on the planet. And that's the connection that we have to the planet itself. We are an evolution of its own technology. And our tech is connected to its tech. So a lot of people also talk about, like, I'm getting off this planet. I want off this planet for 2025. And yet we are being called back to the mother. We are being called to her. I see us anchoring in further, like deeper, our roots deeper into the earth. That's how our humanity is going to shine forth, because that's our connection to our true stewardship of this earth, because we are of the earth, and we are of more than just the earth as well. And that's the tech. So there's 3 things that I heard that are important to anchor in, that this full moon really brought through to me, is 1, to claim protection, and specifically protection over our humanity, over our physical vessels, because the physical vessel is the technology of our humanity. It's the ability to experience this earth and feel everything we feel and process it and give it meaning, and then create from that. That's what it is to be a human. It's what we are. And it's okay to claim protection for our humanity. Because remember, the timeline of lack is an extinction timeline. So when we choose Anomally, we choose to invest in our humanity. And so it's okay to claim protection, invest in that protection. And the investment is just simply the belief that I'm safe. And it seems so simple, and it's easier said than done. And it's the belief that invests in our future. I am safe. And the reason I am safe is because I can anchor down into the earth, into the heart of the earth, and I can open my heart up to the sun, to the light. That's what it is to be human, to be on earth and connected to that which is outside of the earth as well. Connected to all things, connected to the source of all things. So we can claim protection. Second, we can claim sovereignty. And I'm specifically talking about this year. It is so important to claim these things. Claim protection over your humanity. Claim sovereignty with your humanity. And that sovereignty involves a choice. I may not be able to control or fix or solve anything outside of me, but I can and I do have a choice in how I respond to what's happening. That's where all of my power is how I'm responding. So that's an aspect of claiming our sovereignty when we choose our response and we remember that we create resonance through our response, and that resonance invests in a certain timeline. And then finally, I heard to trust the mechanism of our humanity. So to claim protection over our humanity, claim sovereignty with our humanity, and trust in the mechanism of our humanity, which is the mechanism of creation. It's the ask and you shall receive mechanism. That's just how it works. It's as simple as that. That's why they say it's childlike faith. It's as simple as that. Ask and you shall receive. And you don't have to figure out how you're going to receive or when it will come or how it will come. It's just ask and then open up to receiving it. And this is where the entrepreneurs, I believe, have a monopoly in 2025, the entrepreneurs that are investing in the currency of heaven on earth, the currency of humanity, the currency of wellness, the currency of sovereignty, the currency of vitality, of life, of creation, choosing our humanity, embracing our humanity, allowing our humanity, loving our humanity, witnessing our humanity, rather than going at war with our humanity, which is the timeline many are on in the name of saving the planet. And it's justifiable anger, but it's misplaced because the energy in all the rage we feel from the injustice of being enslaved to the program of lack through habitual sacrifice for thousands and thousands of years, millions of years probably, but definitely thousands of years on this planet, that is what we are transmuting. That's what we're undoing. And that's this entire alchemical process that's happening, which 2025 literally is igniting. Literally, and it started off with that. I just find it so fascinating, the elements and how powerful they are and what we're working with here. Think of how easy fire can get out of hand and out of control. And this is why response matters and how fast things can move. Metaphorically, I want you to think of the way that can happen on social media and how fast it can happen. And it's why just 2025 also calls us to be very discerning, especially about anything we read or watch on social media. I've found it interesting, and I've noticed more and more and more and more these AI videos, these AI short videos that like synthesize all the main conspiracy theories and all the main talking points between each political party and drum up that fear and suspicion of the other. And it's intense. It's an intense energy. And there's so much else going on. Unless you watch that stuff, you don't even see it. There's so many people that are using social media to spread light and to spread not just light, but wisdom and practical help which is going to be more and more and more relevant. Again, humanity, investing in humanity. 2025 is going to wake up so many people from the illusion of our own division and just how superficial most of it is and how manufactured most of it is and how at the end of the day, most humans, our response is to be there for each other. Our response is to help. Our natural response is to jump in because we are communal and we won't survive without each other. That is how we have learned to survive and also ultimately where we thrive, which is why I've been talking so much about sovereignty and how we can't have true communion without sovereignty. So the other part of what I feel like came through so strongly, and of course it made sense that it came through with the Cancer full moon, is that the main fault line that's being triggered in 2025 is the psychosis, spiritual psychosis / religious spirit timeline. Fault line is what I meant to say. But there is a timeline of the people who are most vulnerable. And I think a lot of people who maybe have a lot to say about what's going on in the world and feel very comfortable drumming up fear and suspicion of the other and making everything so that there's some dark agenda behind everything. Not that there isn't truth to all of it, because remember, it's gotten as dark as it can get, and every timeline exists. So it does exist. But what I'm trying to say here is that people forget that there are actually very, very, very vulnerable people on the planet who are vulnerable, especially to the war paradigm, and who've been trained really their entire lives in their central nervous system to respond to fear in certain ways. And it only has to hit a certain escalation before something splits. And I do think psychosis is a real threat for 2025 for a lot of people. And there is a lot, we've already since 2020 that has been massively triggered, the fault line of psychosis. And I see this as especially relevant in our community, like the spiritual community, whatever you want to call it, the wellness community. It can, especially in like the new age world, I believe, pose a threat, because there's a faction of the new age reality that has sort of is very plugged into the timeline of extinction, and it is connected to a very real timeline of war with other dimensions and other planets, you could say. And it is a timeline. I believe it's a timeline we've already played out. That is it's like a broken record. You can tap into that timeline anytime you want, and you can literally call that timeline into your reality. And I have seen a real life people in my life, I believe fully, from my perspective, gotten into psychosis when they've gotten too near things like, and I'm going to say this, but it doesn't mean any vicinity to this is dangerous. But I just want to say this because it's been interesting, and I have another colleague that has witnessed some of this with me, and we've both noticed this connection, which is often on the new agey side. This psychosis seems particularly probable for people who are tapping into like the Galactic Federation timeline. And not, like I said, not to say that any vicinity to that is, but it can activate a war vibe that I believe is connected to so much programming on this planet, and technology that's just dangerous, technology that's been around for a long time, but that's connected to brainwashing. MK Ultra is connected to this. I feel like it's important to talk about this because it's just a fault line has been getting triggered since 2020. And I feel like a lot of people in this community can be vulnerable to it. So that's why we have to anchor into earth and into our bodies and into our humanity. And rather than going the path of trying to get out of our humanity and be in some other version of us. And again, there's truth to this. So I'm not saying it's wrong or bad. I'm just saying this is a fault line that I'm very familiar with. And I know at least 3 people two for sure that were in psychosis. One that I'm pretty sure was in psychosis, that all got to it in the same way, like, and didn't know each other either, like not connected with each other, but all went into psychosis around the time they were tapping into Galactic Federation stuff. So just putting that out there. I think, I mean, if you want to get really, because I've delved pretty deep into this. I'm a deep diver. And I also have just kept a discerning upper, disconnect from it, because I am so aware of how encoded all of even the language is. I'm very aware. I also personally throughout my life have, for whatever reason, Spirit has multiple times put me around people who had a mental illness, and me not being aware of it at all until way later. And one of the things that, this has only happened a few times in my life, but one of the things, the familiar, I've been able to recognize it now because now I've seen the pattern. And I've noticed that every time I'm around somebody who has what people would call a mental illness, and what I ultimately see as having a part of their channeling mechanism anchored into a timeline that's connected to extinction. And so not necessarily able to see outside of that one timeline. So I feel one thing that I've noticed with all of these people that I've come in contact with in this way is that my energy field would get dizzy. I feel like, it would feel like their energy field was spinning, and they would make me dizzy. And I've noticed that consistently with just being sensitive, that when I'm around people who are really have plugged in an aspect of their psychic antenna to the extinction timeline, and that particular brand of psychosis, my body will spin. Or not my body, but my energy field. It's like I feel dizzy. So I've recognized this as a particular spirit now. I would say this particular kind of psychosis is a spiritual psychosis and or a religious spirit. And it's the same thing that cults use. It's the same thing that even it can be in gangs. It can be in any type of alternative community, I guess, that's not mainstream. And in mainstream, it's there too. It just seems more normal. But there's a very real spiritual psychic violence going on. And it's very real. And I believe it's connected to something so much deeper than people realize. And I believe it's connected to MK Ultra, but it's deeper than that, and it goes way beyond that. Actually, it's multidimensional, and it's connected to technology that has been used as weaponry. So, all that to say, there's a very real threat here. And there are people that you probably know that are vulnerable, unbeknownst to them and anyone around them, that are vulnerable to getting triggered into psychosis. And once you're triggered into a psychosis and you're that level of, okay, let's put it this way. People that can even tap into the Galactic Federation, for example, are channelers and often have their brain, like, to be able to even channel, they've done studies on this, like what the brain's doing when you are channeling. And it is an anomaly in and of itself. We'll put it that way. Even though I actually think it's a very normal part of human technology, we've just been trained out of it because we've been trained to only track one timeline. So to be able to even do it at all, I believe on a certain level of observation, you are automatically seen. So, and I'm not saying any of this to scare anybody, but I am saying I think it's a time to be very discerning about what we channel. And that's what one of the things I talk about is having preference, even in what you're tuning into, and not allowing just one, because you can tune into anything. So discernment is so important, but also the more you tune it in, the more information you get about it, the more questions you're asking about it, the more you're calling in that timeline in your body. It's not just one timeline, and there's not just one fated thing. So their preference is often what has been eradicated in someone who has been brainwashed. You never get a preference. You never even knew you could have a preference because you're told what to think and what to believe, and there's a consequence if you don't. You're told how it is. You don't get a choice to think about it or question it. You're just told how it is. So there are people who, and I do believe that definitely people who've been raised in cults who already have that kind of programming are subject to it. People who truly believe, and this is real, it is absolutely real. There are religious extremists who see everything happening now through the lens of divine isn't even the right word, because I see everything through the lens of there's something divine happening, but through retribution, through it's time to go to war, and who literally see it through the lens of their belief system, their God, their sense of justice, whatever it is they're giving power to, is compelling them to go to war. Like war is the answer. Like there's in other words, there's a level of authority that certain beliefs have over people that govern them and that will take over their humanity. Like maybe their humanity would never do ABC, but this inner authority takes over because it's rooted in strong beliefs and it's fueled by fear. So, and humans, when we believe we are threatened or our lives are threatened, that's when we will hurt each other. But normally that is not how we function because we are communal. So we only go to war when we believe we are threatened. And so everyone's internal mechanism is always at work to determine how justified they are for being preemptive in warfare by how threatened they feel. So this is just something that's like, I feel like I'm not even, I don't even know if I'm talking about this in the way that's going to make sense to anybody, but discernment is key. And this is big. It feels big for 2025. And it feels like the dreamy, watery, and yet very open-hearted energy of the Cancer full moon for me was very much like receive humanity, open your heart up more, even though it's tender right now. It's very tender. 2025 will show you and reveal to you your humanity. And that might scare the shit out of you because we've been at war with humanity. There is currently an extinction program being played out on humanity, and it started out with enslaving us. So this is humanity. So that we are enslaved through this idea of war and sacrifice. And part of what drives that enslavement is this idea that we're separate or that we're different or that we're divided or that we're different based on arbitrary things that have like our politics or our skin color or our culture, even though that does make us diverse and it makes us unique. But there are these overarching things about our humanity that is in every single one of us. And that is the currency to invest in. That is the investment for 2025, for the rest of your life, for the rest of your future, to have a future. To have a future, we must invest in our humanity. And the most dangerous threat for our humanity in 2025 is psychosis, brought on by spiritual warfare or psychic warfare, or you can say literal, deliberate warfare, psychological warfare that's going on, that social media is being used for. And social media is also being used as the solution. It in the Anomally timeline, it liberates us. So we're not at war with social media. We're not at war with the internet. We're not at war. We don't have to shut anything down. We don't even have to censor anything. We need discernment, and we need humanity. We need to invest in humanity, invest in our health, invest in our wellness, invest in our vitality, invest in our hearts. And remember, I've been talking a lot about, for those of you who are in the membership and people who've taken my some of my courses, I talk a lot about humanity being the gold. We do this in Ace of Pentacles, that the pentacle is the heart. And in order to secure our gold, we need somebody who is wise in the investment of the gold, wise in the investment of the heart, wise in the heart, the affairs of the heart. Wise in the heart. We need wisdom and wisdom in our humanity. So that's what we're tapping, not the same old, let's go to war, angry. Let's use our trauma and our rage to go to war with the other. That's the old matrix. That's the lack matrix. That's the war paradigm. That's the timeline of extinction. We keep going to war to the very end of time until there's nothing left. The end. Nobody ultimately wins in that timeline. Humanity just goes extinct. So you are someone who's chosen out of that timeline, which is why you're listening to this message, which is why you're being reminded. What if you are gifted in particular, which I'm assuming you are, because you wouldn't be listening to this, and this is why this particular fault line of psychosis is coming through. If you are gifted, if you are a channeler, if you have heightened sensitivities, especially if you are psychic and you can see spirits, for example, see or feel or experience them. These are all reasons and ways in which, if we don't have discernment, if we're not grounded in truth, capital T truth, if we are not grounded to the earth and in our bodies, we can be deceived. Easily deceived, and our gifts can be used to perpetuate the timeline of war. So it's just a time to be discerning. It's a time to be discerning. It's a time to invest in your humanity. It's a time to open up your heart more, not less. And that's the challenge of this year, is to be more human, not less, to open up your vulnerabilities more, not less, to be more grounded to the earth, not like I'm out of here, I'm jumping on. If the aliens come, I'm going with them. I'm anchoring down. I'm anchoring down onto this earth because she's my mother. I'm anchoring down. I am for earth. I am for humanity. I am for the other. I am for creation. I am for life. So this is the energy. This is the investment. And this is why the entrepreneur, the empath entrepreneur, the one who invests in humanity is the one who is the most successful, especially in 2025. But 2025 will plant the seeds. Project 10 years out from now, it's astronomical wealth. Astronomical wealth by investing in humanity for 2025. 2020 is when this portal opened. But this is the time. This is the time. I also feel like the grid of philanthropists. The currency of humanity is the ultimate philanthropist. Those who have enough to overflow. And whatever it is that you have to overflow. Some people have money, they overflow. But other people have like support, witness, love. Other people have literal supplies that they can overflow. Other people have just an endless amount of forgiveness and patience where they can witness almost anybody. And so it's healing. So it's like whatever you can overflow and wherever you can overflow, and then refill up. And going back to this third thing I said, which is trust the mechanism of creation. which is the mechanism of ask and receive. Ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door shall be opened. Seek and you will find. That's how it works. So it's claiming that. Claim protection for your humanity, claim sovereignty for your humanity, and trust the mechanism of creation. Ask and you shall receive. So I hope this full moon anomaly reading was helpful for you. If you want to dive into this any deeper this week in the YouTube membership in my Craft of the Empath tier, I am doing a mini course on, like a little mini workshop on how to craft your own abundance anomaly for 2025. And I'm going to be talking about specific energies and even colors and vibrations and elements you can work with this year to really anchor in a steady rhythm of abundance. I'm enough, you're enough, there's enough. That's the investment in humanity. The more of us that can anchor that in, the more wellness we can offer to others. The more of us that can be in that space, even during times of fear and crisis, the more we can have that effect. Because remember, emotions are contagious. So those people who can hold down a strong resonance, these are all ways that we invest in the heaven on earth timeline, invest in the anomaly timeline, the abundance timeline. And I really believe that this 2025 energy is going to call forth powerful community. I've been saying it for a while, but you'll probably have deep communion with people that are very different from you. And it's going to be deeply healing for humanity and for the grid itself. So yeah, I can't wait to hear and experience what happens. And I know that I'm going to be hearing from many of you at different times this year at significant moments when your humanity's opened up to a new level. And you've really got to see and understand how the mechanism of ask and receive works, and that you're not earning it. It's not because you're worthy. You just ask and then open to receive because you're worthy, because you're here and you have the mechanism to do it. So I love you guys. I hope you have a great, I know. I feel like I was in the middle of saying something and then went off, and I was actually letting you guys know about the mini workshop on how to craft an anomaly. And this is where we'll go into like specifically working with the elements, I'll give you lots of different ways in which you can create a rhythm and a ritual for your life on a day-to-day basis, even something that's very, very simple, which is the key, but that you can continually do so that it creates and sustains and stabilizes the resonance of anomaly in your reality, being different than how everyone else is acting, holding a different vibration than everyone else is holding. That's the investment in humanity. And it's going to come in very, very handy for everyone this year. So if you are interested in that mini workshop, you can join the YouTube membership. You can cancel at any time, and it's month to month. So even if you join for 1 month, you'll have access to this workshop, but there's also a ton of workshops from the last 3 years, 2 to 3 years of me doing this. So there is a ton of content in there. It's a great way to jump in and just see if there's other stuff you like. And I hope you guys are doing well. Much love, and happy full moon energy.